This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, Channel 158. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Still to come this hour, we're going to play a little game of buy, rent, or sell on a handful of NFL teams that... Is there an opportunity to buy low, sell high, all that good stuff? We'll also have Ian Fitzsimmons of ESPN Radio stop by the program. He will be the field analyst for the ESPN Radio broadcast out in Happy Valley with Oregon and Penn State. He was on the sideline for Oklahoma-Auburn this past week, so lots of good stuff we can get into with him on the college football front. But we've been on the show for an hour so far, JVT, and we haven't even given any of our thoughts to what transpired last night on Monday Night Football between the Lions and Ravens. And real quickly, just because I know everybody's been doing recaps of the game all day and everything like that, the biggest thing I wanted to ask you coming out of that game is, to you, are the Ravens still the second best team in the conference to you, a top shot as a Super Bowl contender? How do you view them coming out of these first 3 weeks?
Well, so, I mean, I had them, full disclosure, the best team in the NFL, let alone just, hey, conference, are you first or second or whatever it is. And I still think they're a second best-ish in the NFL. I think you can quibble with where the Buffalo Bills are at because of the upside that Josh Allen provides at the quarterback position. I think what is going to be interesting as we move forward, and this is what kind of drove me nuts coming out of this game last night with some of the discourse. The thing that I think many are focusing on, and this isn't a shot at our guy, love him very much, he would never tell me the same thing, but I saw Matt Humans tweet out, hey, and I'm paraphrasing, Ravens has some real problems on defense. Mm-hmm. And that was echoed by a lot of different people coming out of that game. The Bills don't. The Bills are 24th in defensive EPA after week 3. The Lions don't. They're 19th in defensive EPA coming out of that game. I think what transpires, and Baltimore is unlucky enough because of the draw of the schedule, what do we keep saying going into the game? It's going to look like Sunday night, that first week, because football is a sport that is geared toward offense. Your defense generally is only as good as the offense it is playing, and thus you're probably going to be in these high-level, heavyweight competitions. You're probably going to see some of these high scores because the offense is so elite, and sure enough, we got that. And look, the Ravens, they're 1-2. We know what the issues are. They're not a perfect team by any stretch. But I think if you're bailing on Baltimore and saying this team has defensive issues, well, then you also have to realize that the teams that they lost to got a combined over 70 points dropped on them in Buffalo and Detroit. And those two have also had their negatives in terms of us watching Buffalo be in a tie game with the Miami Dolphins, who had a team meeting 24 hours prior, and the Lions, who got mollywopped by the Packers in week 1. So my whole point here is, I'm not going to give up on any team that's that highly rated after 3 weeks, and I don't think anybody else should either.
So that's exactly where I was going to go, because you do look at the numbers, and it's pretty jarring when you look at the NFL stats for the season so far, and you see the Ravens 32nd in the league in total defense and 31st in points per game allowed. But you have to give context to that. We are 3 weeks into the season, and two of the teams that scored all those points on them could end up, when all is said and done, two of the top, if not the top two offenses in the entire league at the end of the year. So keep that in mind. The way that Detroit did run the football yesterday, though, against this defense was very impressive to me. 224 yards on the ground. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs could do whatever they wanted. And you look at the numbers, too. I wanted to point this out. Great night for anytime touchdown bettors last night. If you were putting together any of those parlays, Montgomery and Gibbs each had 2. Their big 3 all got in the end zone. Amon-Ra St. Brown connected with Jared Goff for a big score to tie it up in the 3rd. Even for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson didn't have a rushing touchdown, but 3 passing touchdowns. You get Derrick Henry there with the -225 if you had that core anytime touchdown leg for your parlay. Rashad Bateman, and then Mark Andrews, who had just 2 catches on 4 targets and 7 yards the first 2 games, just lit it up yesterday. 2 touchdowns, 6 catches on 6 targets for 91 yards. So a lot of tickets cashed if you had any of those big names yesterday.
Yeah, and when you're looking at this team overall, they were missing 2 starters on defense too.
I mean, you could feel the absence from Matabuke and Van Noy not being out there.
So I'm not going to freak out too much, but it was the game that we kind of all expected here, and good on the Lions. I mean, I think the other big takeaway is I'm going to be wrong on my thoughts of Dan Campbell being NFL Ed Orgeron. Yeah. Remember my preseason comp was, hey, look, both coordinators are gone. The passing game coordinator that you had last year is gone with the New York Jets, and this thing could fall apart for you. You saw play calling creativity. You saw the same explosiveness. I do think the Packers are just that good defensively, where maybe you don't draw a line, particularly through the loss to Green Bay. Because, look, the Packers lost that game against Cleveland. It wasn't because of their defense. Their defense was, again, just suffocating and fantastic. So maybe it's just, hey, Green Bay's that good, especially on the defensive end. But to see this explosivity for this Lions team over the last 2 weeks, I mean, what are we talking about? 80, 90 points the last 2 weeks? Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, exactly 90 against the Bears and Ravens since their most points, by the way, in a 2-game span since 1962. And they were 3 for 3 on 4th down. You mentioned the creativity. It's like Ben Johnson, John Morton did a great job this after that opening game week against the Packers where, I mean, it shows that they scored 13 points because of what they did in garbage time, but they had 6 points on the board leading into late in that game. So for them to explode this way, acclimate, figure things out, show what their offense is capable of, again, 3 for 3 going forward on 4th down, I think was really notable for them yesterday. And then one last thing, too, that we haven't acknowledged yet, the sack numbers for that Lions defense as well got to Lamar Jackson, 8 times? And Jared Goff was kept clean. So if that's something that they can continue to do moving forward, a big feather in the cap for the Detroit Lions. From an odds perspective, Lions are still the second shot in the NFC North. Packers are an odds-on number at -110. Lions available +170, but I know you really like the Vikings all of a sudden. +550 in the division for Minnesota. What do you think?
So shout out, again, Pod to the Futures. Check it out. New episode was recorded today. It'll be out a little bit later, depending on when Wyatt gets it out. That is not a shot. Wyatt is working very hard.
How dare you.
So we will get that out there. Maybe Mitch Moss's fault that it's taking so long. Mike wasn't really great this morning. But either way, one of the things that we had discussed that I had brought up was, all right, let's throw out NFC North for the Vikings, whatever it is. A relatively new market that we're really starting to get odds on the last couple of years. Are we overthinking this? Brian Flores is 9-1 for assistant coach of the year.
Ooh.
He is doing a tremendous job with this defense in the early going. He has the respect, obviously, of his peers. Now, the caveat would be in the short shelf life of this award, I believe it's been about 8 years, the winner of the award has been on a double-digit win team every time. Now, again, we're only talking about 8, so it's not the biggest sample size in the world. But Brian Flores at 9-1, given how great this defense has been, and if they continue to play at this level and carry forth a quarterback rotation of J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz to, let's just even say, 9 wins in the postseason, how are we not looking at Brian Flores to potentially win assistant coach of the year?
I like it.
You know what I mean? Like, I know we like to take our shots. I know we like long shots. There's quite a few people at the network. I think Will Hill, Mitch Moss, have Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, as some pretty long numbers to win the award. But Flores, they are number one, to use the term that you've been using, with a bullet in a lot of defensive metrics.
I like that.
Right? Like, that is something that looks pretty tempting when you're looking at what Flores has done to this point.
Here's how that market looks right now at the top of the board. Jeff Hafley, your favorite, at 5-1. Jesse Minter, 7-1. And then Flores and 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh both tied there at 9-1 before you get to double digits and beyond. Looking to this week.
Oh, you didn't respond to me, by the way.
What?
I sent you a text. Did you see Isaiah Rodgers?
No, what?
He had the first perfect PFF
PFF
grade, 99.9.
It's freaking insane.
What he did over the weekend.
Dude, I mean, the heads up plays, just sick from him on Sunday. Also, with the win yesterday for Detroit, 30 more out in Survivor. Nobody picked the Lions. 30 entries were on the Baltimore Ravens. As we look ahead to next week in the Week 4 odds, the Ravens are 2.5-point favorites at the Chiefs. Is that right?
I think that makes some sense when you're looking at the way the Chiefs have played. Total 48.5. I'd be curious to see if the market kind of freaks out and again expects some points and gets this thing up to like 50-ish. So we'll see if that's the case. But look, the Chiefs have not played particularly well for the first 3 weeks. How
did the Giants not backdoor cover on Sunday night, by the way?
Yeah. Like, they're keeping their opponents in it. Obviously, it's their first cover of the season that you're referencing in week 3. From a power rating standpoint, I mean, here's the question you have to ask now. Is Baltimore about 4 points better than Kansas City on a neutral? I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to say that that's the case, because at least when we're talking about what commands an NFL game, offensively, the Baltimore Ravens have looked head and shoulders better than what Kansas City has looked like through the early going of the year.
No question about it. 8.5 is what we're looking at with the Lions at home hosting the Cleveland Browns this week.
Who are you using for Survivor?
Browns following up the big win against the Packers. Total in that one, 44.5.
I think we use the 0-3 Texans as Survivor selection this week.
No.
What do you mean no? Come on, they're 7-point favorites against Tennessee.
Against the Titans. I can't stomach that.
I think you can. Or I got a nasty one for you too. I've cooled. I've changed my mind.
I don't think I can get on board with you for the Texans. I just really.
Okay, I got one more for you.
What is it?
The New England Patriots.
Against the Panthers?
Yeah. I think we have to have, I don't know if we make this a benchmark. I think we have to have a further review of that Panthers game against Atlanta. If you really dive into it, our boy Bryce was not overtly impressive, and the offense wasn't particularly great. I think that had a lot to do with Michael Penix and that offense, as opposed to what the Carolina Panthers did.
But
and we're talking about a Patriots team.
But we're also talking about a Steelers team that, like, the whole reason they won had a lot to do with the Patriots.
Yeah, so 4 lost fumbles. Fumbles tend to be pretty random, a little unlucky.
With Ramondre Stevenson, they're not that random.
I'm gonna get him out of there.
Are they?
Maybe.
I mean, I already said I like TreVeyon Henderson at 30-1, but we need to get him used a little bit.
Shoot me down every which way.
No, I'm just trying to look at some things, and wasn't I don't know.
Just think,
the Texans?
You know what I think it is? I think you're hungry. I think you're just not thinking straight.
How did you know? And the best thing to feed that hunger is Omaha Steaks. Wow. And the Smash Burgers, ladies and gentlemen. They're pre-smashed, crafted from premium aged beef. Go from freezer to bun in just 5 minutes. Juicy, unforgettable flavor. And get this, guys. VSiN exclusive. You get 16 free Smash Burgers with any order of $129 or more. Plus 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com/VSiN. Again, that's omahasteaks.com/VSIN. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you are looking for transparency, Juice Rail is the place for you. Trusted marketplace for buying and selling picks with that total transparency. And here's how it works. On the Juice Rail app, every seller syncs their sportsbook account, so their full betting history is imported directly from the book. No screenshots, no fake records, just facts. That means the only way to sell picks is to prove you can win, and the only picks you can buy are from verified bettors with real results. The days of inflated profit claims are over on Juice Rail. You can tail proven winners or get paid if others are tailing you. Download Juice Reel today. That's juice like orange juice. Reel, R-E-E-L, Juice Reel. Download the app today. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Money Moves. And time for a little game of buy, rent, or sell. We're going to look at a handful of teams in the National Football League and see if they're a team that you believe in, want to continue to back, or if we're time to move off of them potentially, and there could be some buy low, sell high opportunities as we go through as well. But I want to talk about a couple teams here that have some mixed results, starting with the Green Bay Packers, because the way that they started the season, they looked elite. Everybody was talking about this team as a true Super Bowl contender, and then they end up losing to the Browns this past weekend in what was a tough watch of a game in general.
Tough watch. I don't think we watched it.
We had it up in one of the upper screens when we were on the air for Live Bet Sunday, and not paying a whole lot of attention to it because it was such a slow game. The Browns end up winning, like we said. So Green Bay 2-1, and the offense has been a question. Is this a team that you want to buy in, you're questionable about, maybe rent, hold off, or sell, you're out?
I mean, I think you sell in the sense of they're at the top of the market. You're not necessarily buying. I think that's probably, if we're being honest to how we're going to handle this, that's probably it. I think what's a little worrisome for Green Bay when you talk about the inconsistencies of their offense, and they just played Cleveland, couldn't really run the ball very well, but, you know, they weren't really running the ball particularly well in the other two games either. They're now currently 20th in the league through 3 weeks in terms of expected points added per rush, so that hasn't been consistent. That's been a big reason why they were so successful. Their defense is absolutely legitimate, so I don't think you're buying right now with the way that they're currently priced and what we know about them. but I'm not exactly selling and saying this team stinks. I'm still not going to be stunned if they're the team that ends up winning the NFC. I just think they're too short priced right now to buy in. I think you need them to slip a little bit, and if that's the case, then we're really going to have some conversations about this offense.
Yeah, I was going to say, every team, even the really great ones, are going to have that kind of weird loss at some point.
Cleveland's good Cleveland's a good defensive team too, especially up front.
No question about it.
Oh man, by the way,
what?
Our guy Carson Swessinger, he's down to like 9-10 to 1 to win this defensive rookie of the year. Come on now, had that big sack of Jordan Love on right before the end of the third quarter. We're live, folks. We're live.
All right. Speaking of being live, how about your Indianapolis Colts here?
Not low enough. Buy.
Still.
No, I think we're at the point where
you were actually saying though, like AFC 1 seed. You were looking at some different buy points on Indianapolis still, despite the hot start.
I think you can buy in the sense of their adjusted win total right now is 10.5. The over's plus 110. Maybe an alternate win total if you want, instead of going all in on most wins or 1 seed for the AFC. Maybe an alternate win total of 11.5 if you can find it out there, because I do think their schedule is really, really manageable. Now, in the context of winning the AFC, I still have my reservations. If we talk about how much we're freaking out about this Baltimore defense, for example, I think if you roll into Buffalo, this defense is not going to be able to stop Josh Allen in that offense. So you're really hoping that your offense is going to carry you the whole way. So I think it's a flawed team in that I don't know if their ceiling is championship, but I think their ceiling could be very well 11, maybe 12 wins with that schedule if the AFC South is as bad as it looks on paper right now. And, 2 seed, 3 seed in the AFC, home playoff game that they maybe win, and maybe that's all she wrote. But I think that there is a high ceiling for this team in terms of their record at the very least.
And, I mean, we talked about it yesterday, but this Shane Steichen, Daniel Jones combo has seemed to work. So is it sustainable? It looks like it. We'll see. But with that in mind, so the Colts are one of just 2 teams in the NFL that are both 3-0 against the spread so far. They're actually taking on a Rams team this week where they're getting that hook on the 3.5 on the road. Do you think that they can go 4-0 ATS to start the season?
I don't think so. I mean, I know it's a key number, but obviously the 3.5s are all out there. This is we're pretty much in the same point we were this last week. Remember we talked about that number comparison where, hey, the Rams were laying 5.5, you closed to 6, you blew out the Titans, and I think that was a little bit of both worlds coming together where the Colts were being upgraded, but the Titans were being downgraded, and so that number was larger. But the basic premise, if you remember when we did you weren't here on Friday, sorry, but when we did the market power ratings, the whole premise was, hey, look, this Colts team on a neutral before the season started was probably 7 points worse than the Rams. Now they're 2 points worse, and that's exactly what this translates to here. So is that the question is, have they really closed this gap with the LA Rams? Are they really this tight with LA? I think you can make the argument maybe, but I think you're definitely buying at the top of the market if you're coming in and grabbing 3.5 with the Indianapolis Colts against the Rams. And, you would assume the Rams probably have a little bit more hitch in the giddy up after blowing that game to Philadelphia last week.
The other team that's 3-0 ATS, the Los Angeles Chargers. And not only are they 3-0 ATS, but they're 3-0 straight up on the season and in the division. So they beat the Chiefs. They win here in Vegas against the Raiders. And then this past weekend, the 23-20 win against the Denver Broncos. Buy, rent, or sell what you are seeing from Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, and the Chargers. I
think last week was the time to buy. I mean, we did. We talked about this. I did. I took him at 8-1 to win the AFC. I think if you really wanted to get in, the FOMO, fear of missing out on just this Chargers team that could be very good, I think that's perfectly reasonable if you wanted to get in on like a 5-1 to win the conference. Again, if they're in contention for that 1 seed, let's say they even get the 1 seed, you're talking about winning 1 playoff game and you're in an opportunity to hedge like immediately. So I think that makes some sense if you're going to fight with, or if you're going to go to battle with that. And you look at the AFC West. You could make the argument that the gravity of this Chiefs team is kind of holding back their price. They're a $1.80 favorite to win the AFC West. And again, I mean, the division doesn't really look particularly deep. The Broncos, again, I don't mean to pile on. Bo Nix is the lowest graded quarterback in the National Football League by PFF standards. EPA standards would also put him down and well into the bottom half. This offense might not be great. We know what the Raiders are at this point. What if the Chiefs are exactly what they look like they're going to be, and you have a win on them already? So I think there's probably a case to be made that they are being maybe a little underpriced in the market when it comes to the AFC West at -180.
I feel like that point that you made about the Broncos and Bo Nix is something that our show did really well, I think, in the summer when we were previewing the division. division and talking about teams that were getting a little too hyped. We thought the steam on Denver might be a little too high. Obviously, it's still early in the season, but the early returns haven't looked great, and the Chargers have. So, fun conversation. They, by the way, Los Angeles, that is, 6.5-point road favorites at MetLife this week, taking on the newly minted Jackson Dart-led New York Giants.
Yep. Being 3-0 in the division is massive, though. To be 3-0 and only be a $1.80 favorite is pretty.
Buy low on the Giants? With Jackson Dart stepping in?
If you're a Dart believer, I suppose. I mean, what's buy low?
I still can't believe that. I mean, not a down played yet, and he's plus 750. That's why we were talking about it so much last week and the week before. If you thought that Jackson Dart was going to play and you thought he had a chance in the offensive rookie of the year market, by now, when it was like over 22-1, now it's plus 750, and he still hasn't played yet.
So what's buy low? Like, are you going over 4.5 wins at minus 130?
Yeah, basically.
I'm good.
So no? Okay.
I don't know what Dart is.
You know what?
I've never been a particular believer. It's not like I don't believe in him, though. But I just don't know.
A team that I do think is kind of interesting here that Brian put in the rundown. How about the Washington Commanders? What have you thought of their start so far? They obviously get the win this past week without Marcus Mariota. 2-1 on the year with Jaden Daniels dealing with that knee sprain. Buy, rent, or sell?
I would venture that we're maybe buying. Jaden Daniels is going to come back. You can hold him out another week because you have a pretty favorable spot here, depending on what you feel about the Falcons, considering how good you looked against the Raiders, too, smoking them and not really looking like you missed Daniels too much. So if Atlanta's in this weird spot where we're talking about it was their offensive coordinator that was moving down to the field, right? So, yeah, if we're talking about changing the way you're doing things on the field, all those sort of things. Michael Penix, one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL right now statistically. You can let Daniels rest. You likely get a win here on the road, and then you can enter a portion of your schedule where the next three are Chargers, Bears, Cowboys. Two of those three, you can look at very solid winnable opportunities outside of going to the L.A. to take on the Chargers. So I think you can make a case to buy on the Commanders, if you will.
What do you want to do with the San Francisco 49ers? Buy, rent, or sell? They're 3-0 to this point, have had a ton of injuries, just added another one to the list with Nick Bosa done for the season, but still do have a favorable schedule throughout. Brock Purdy is expected to come back soon. They're going to get those wide receiver bodies better. DeMarcus Robinson done with the suspension. Brandon Ayuk's going to come at some point. How do you see it?
How do you see it?
I don't know.
It sounds like I hear a buy.
No, I don't know.
You're rattling this off. You're hyped.
I'm talking through their situation. They are injured and getting more injured, but are also having the potential to get more healthy. So I don't know. What do you do with the 49ers who somehow are 3-0 already?
I find it hard to say buy on a team that just arguably lost its best defender, although he hasn't been performing to that level and has been dealing with the injuries that they are. And the Rams look pretty good. Like, if the Rams don't blow this, we're talking about 2 3-0 teams.
I was going to ask. Yeah. In the NFC West, though, sure, the Rams look good, but were we just wrong about the Seattle Seahawks? Although our show, I feel like Mike Palm came on the program, we're still pretty complimentary about what if this Sam Darnold things works. Could the Seattle Seahawks be a buy?
Yeah, I think that to me is a team that's worth buying. I mean, their market flipped to 1.5. I was with our friend Kendall Venezuela on Monday, said I think they're going to go off as favorites here against Arizona, and they're live to keep this thing going.
I'm trying to pull up the division. 6-1. In the NFC West for the Seattle Seahawks. We shall see. Okay, we got to step aside when we come back. Shifting gears to college football, Ian Fitzsimmons of ESPN Radio is going to stop by Money Moves after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Get into some college football talk as we welcome you back to Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Very excited to welcome into the show Ian Fitzsimmons on the Progressive Guest Line, ESPN Radio Field Analyst, co-host of Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio weeknights 7 to 10 Eastern. You can follow him on X at Ian Fitz, ESPN. Going to be on the Game of the Week this week for ESPN Radio. Oregon at Penn State out there in Happy Valley, and just came off of a pretty fun one as well out there, Auburn, Oklahoma. I know, Fitz, you were talking about the heat down there. Have you settled down? Like, did you get some ice cubes on the field? Do you have a fan? What do you do in those conditions?
Stormy, you've been on the field for those games. It was about 110 on the field, which, thank goodness, in Norman, it's a grass surface, because it's even worse when it's that field turf, because those black pellets just hold that heat in. But it was about 110 on the field, and let's just say that white Oxford shirt that I had on did not make it home. It stayed in the hotel, because the yellow sweat stain from sunscreen and just perspiration was nasty. So that one, nope, just stay in the closet, not coming home. But overall, remarkable game. Oklahoma's front seven is just vicious. And that's an outstanding Auburn offensive line that, everyone was talking about, the quarterback play between, John Mateer and Jackson Arnold, and Arnold going back to Oklahoma. When I was talking to Tim Murray on Saturday, I said, look, this Oklahoma front against that Auburn offensive line, that's where this game's going to be decided. That's where it was. And I know a safety made a lot of people some money and cost some people some money. Mm-hmm. So there you go. That's why we love the game. That's why we play the games. That's why we bet the games. Every now and then it goes on your side, and every now and then it doesn't.
Yeah, and just goes to show, too, numbers matter, right? That 6.5. I did want to follow up on Auburn real quickly because they're at Texas A&M coming up this weekend. Do you think that they're able to get up off the mat, getting that 6.5 again? That's a lucky number.
Well, one thing to look an eye on, and keep an eye on, is Jay Crawford. Their outstanding corner who came into that game with a right knee injury and didn't go. So, with Marcel Reed playing at the level he is right now, Stormy, Crawford's going to be a big addition to that Auburn defense. Which, again, their defensive front is also outstanding. I mean, Bart at 15 for Auburn can play for me any day. Not only is he an unbelievable player, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick, but and a lot of people don't know this, he gave a chunk of his NIL money to a walk-on at Auburn who was going to have to leave school because he couldn't afford tuition. Now, he wouldn't tell me who the player is, and I'll be brutally honest, I don't want to know. But to have that kind of character and that kind of attitude and that kind of playmaking ability, hell yeah, I'll take that guy any day of the week and twice on a Saturday or a Sunday on your NFL team. I mean, he is awesome. So catching 6.5, look, it's Tuesday, right? I'm not making picks yet, but that's when I would lean toward Auburn.
Ian, in the big picture, one of the things that I've been harping on, and they're still sitting at like 11 or 12 to 1. Why wouldn't the market respect the Miami Hurricanes more after what we've seen through this early portion of the season?
Great question. And you tell me, because that offensive line may be one of the best in college football. The way Carson Beck's playing right now, that defense, they're not stalking prey. They're hunting, man. And they are outstanding. And that Florida team, I had them 2 weeks ago against LSU. That defense is legit. And even without Caleb Banks, they came to play. They just ran out of gas. So there's a lot of openings right now with Mike Gundy getting fired. UCLA is open. Mm-hmm. Stanford obviously is open. We can go on down the list, right? But when it comes to just an attitude about a squad, I mean, damn, man, they're good. They're really good.
ESPN Radio's Ian Fitzsimmons joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Let's talk about the game that you're going to be on the sideline for this weekend. A whiteout at Penn State, Oregon coming to town, number 6 versus number 3. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, an incredible game. I know, obviously, like you said, it's Tuesday, and you can't make picks on your own game anyways. But were you surprised to see how quick the market did move toward Penn State, and that Oregon is getting that early hook on the 3.5?
If you don't think Dan Lanning, Stormy, is not using that with his team, you're nuts. He takes every little thing, and Marshall Malkow, his chief of staff, they notice everything, every little bit, any little detail they can use, they will. So number comes out, bam, it jumps. Okay, well, guess what? You don't think Dan Lanning is telling his team, nobody respects you. No, they haven't played a soul, right? But hey, Oklahoma State came out going, "Hey, we're one of the, we spent all this money." Well, what happened then? And it was a great line, by the way, for Dan Lanning when he said, when you get challenged, you cowboy up, but the bull doesn't care. And today we're the bull, and Oklahoma State, they're the cowboy. And let's just go whip their bleeping. You know what? That's Lanning. So he, I promise you, he will use that. And until Drew Aller and James Franklin show up and win a big regular season game, I am not going to go and back Penn State right now. So I can't make a pick on it, obviously, but I think if you're reading between the lines of what I'm saying, watch out for Oregon, because I promise you Lanning's using everything you just said and then some.
Do you think anybody in the locker room will be like, well, actually, home field is worth 3.5, so technically they think you're equals to one another?
Right.
All right, let's go. I wanted to ask you another big picture thing as we're looking at the team that you were just watching up close. Is there an argument to be made that Oklahoma is the best team in the country?
Well, look, I don't know about the best team in the country, but that front seven, again, going back to it, they're legit. And they didn't have our Mason Thomas for the first half. And 32 comes out. What's he do in the second half? 2 sacks. John Mateer was described to me by the coaches there as Baker Mayfield 2.0. Now, Baker is a more natural passer, but it's the attitude and that running back type mentality that Mateer has as a quarterback that's why they describe him as Baker Mayfield 2.0. They are really, really good. They're deep at running back. Last year, man, and I want to give Jackson Arnold some credit here. Last year, Oklahoma lost not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6. Their top 6 wide receivers gone to injury. Who the hell are you throwing the ball to, Jonathan? I mean, Stormy could have played, right? I mean, and been a better wideout than what Oklahoma had last year with Jackson Arnold. So, I thought Jackson handled that whole situation really, really well and in a very mature fashion. But Mateer has come in, and this Oklahoma team is damn good. But one of the best to say they're number one, no. But do they deserve to be in the top 10? Yeah. But that schedule, look at it. It's daunting. It ain't easy. But if there's a squad that can handle it, it's that Brent Venables coach, squad where it's not just him. It's Arbuckle as OC. It's Jay Valai is secondary coach. They are just so grounded. They're damn good. But I wouldn't say number one yet.
Yeah. And Mateer is your favorite in the Heisman market now at plus 750. But to your point, Ian, about the schedule, they have the bye this week, and then it's Kent State. But after that, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Mizzou, and LSU. It is a gauntlet upcoming. And last couple minutes here with you, we do have a couple other huge games that are coming up this weekend. Alabama and Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. Any that really caught your eye and you were really interested in or had a strong feel on early in the week?
Yeah, the LSU Ole Miss game. That's an underrated rivalry. Stormy, I know you've called those games before. I have also. These two fan bases despise one another. The Ole Miss fan base is, for people who don't know, they're the ones that gave LSU fans the nickname Corn Dogs. Yeah, you can't make it up. Why? And I'm a boot boy. I'm from Folsom, Louisiana. Why did Ole Miss fans start referring to LSU fans as corn dogs? We deep fry everything in Louisiana. I mean, we'll deep fry a rat if we're hungry, right? So there you go. Go to Katy Perry on College game day, throwing corn dogs at the television. So that is one that is a very underrated, underappreciated rivalry. That's my number one game of the weekend, besides the one I'm calling at Oregon at Penn State, is the one you just brought up right there, Stormy. It's Ole Miss. It's LSU. It's nasty. It is. There's respect but hate involved, and I'm all about that when it comes to college football.
Pick 'em here at Circa, but across the board, Ole Miss favored by 1.5 at home. It's going to be a fun one. Ian, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy Happy Valley, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, Jonathan, ask Stormy about the old phrase, it's always over until, Stormy?
Until it's under, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's great, Ian. And you set us up beautifully for how we're going to open up the next segment. Me and Ian have a great story. You're the best. Ian Fitzsimmons, everybody. Check him out, ESPN Radio. Amber and Ian, ESPN Radio, weeknight 7 to 10 Eastern, and this coming Saturday out there at Penn State. We'll be right back on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, we are wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Money Moves. Thanks for hanging out with us on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. SiriusXM Channel 158, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, wherever you may be watching or listening. Many of our fine affiliates across the country, we appreciate it. Also, remember, if you missed any of the show today, we got to a lot of different stuff. Had a great conversation with Ian Fitzsimmons last segment. Adam Burke was on with us for a half an hour. We talked some MLB postseason discussion. Download Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. I wanted to follow up real quickly because Ian had a funny line on the way out about, it's never over until it's under, or something like that, right? So we know the phrase. We've got it on the T-shirts here at VSiN. He and I last year were sharing a sideline for, I guess it was 2 years ago, for an XFL game here in Vegas, actually. It was the San Antonio Brahmas and the Vegas Vipers going head-to-head. And
was that a cash?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. My God.
It was...
For those who aren't familiar, a bleep hole.
The broadcast booth for the play-by-play and analysts are up at was like, it's this makeshift thing. One game we did there earlier in the season had a rainstorm and it was shaking and it was actually raining inside the booth. It was
oddly
wild.
enough, probably the second press box you've been in where there was rat feces in it.
Raccoon was the one that I was
sorry.
at. We'll not tell you where that was, but Raccoon. We're trying to be our best Oakland A's, right? Because they had the possums. Is that what was up in there? So we're doing this XFL game, and in the XFL, then converted to the UFL, like ESPN really promotes the betting element of the game, and they have even the spread on the score bug, which I personally think is something that we should be instituting all over NFL games now. I thought that was awesome. When the over cashes, it'll like flip and all of that stuff. He actually bet the total in the game. And he had a physical ticket that was here. He's showing it on the air. He had the under in the game. And at the end, they're setting up, I can't remember who it was, but they're setting up for a game-winning field goal that would have pushed the game over. And he's just like losing his mind on the sideline. Okay, it's over. What are you going to do? Da, da, da. Wide right. And just like the emotions that you all feel at home when you're sweating a bet, we had on the air, and it was so much fun. It was great.
Sounds like a great time.
He got in a lot of trouble, though.
Did he really?
For it, because even though it was a total bet, still there is no betting on your game. You can give suggestions and you can give angles and stuff, but you're not supposed to bet on your own game. And so he's showing the physical ticket on the air. It was a whole thing, but
it's a good bit.
It's enjoyable. It's hilarious. It was hysterical. Hysterical.
I bet it was.
Are you ready for your best bets?
I don't really have anything to add, so I will say this because I do think that there's something that we should visit in the National Football League if I could. I'm going to ask you some questions here, okay? I want to get your thoughts on this. If I were to tell you that there is a team that in their victory was outgained by about 100 yards, had a negative, we'll call it 0.9 net yards per play, and was +2 in the turnover column, what would you think of their victory, despite the fact that they were averaging 4.1 yards per play, had less than 250 total yards?
That it was a little fake?
This is the Panthers.
Oh, no.
Yeah. 224 total yards, 4.1 yards per play. They were +2 in the turnover column. Atlanta had ultimately committed 3. Panthers ended up losing a fumble in the game. I say that because they're playing New England this week. And you go back to the Steelers game, because my initial thought was, as we've talked about, man, we're betting the Panthers every single week. But again, this offense actually did not look good against Atlanta. They were benefiting from turnovers, some short fields. From an efficiency standpoint, it wasn't really there. I think there's a stronger case to be made that New England's the side here where they're laying 5.5. It seems like a big number. They completely outperformed the Steelers last week. You don't want to freak out too much about that. In fact, you kind of want to view that as almost like a buy-on point where they were in the realm of potentially tying that game despite the fact that they had coughed the ball up 5 different times. I just think that maybe I'm going to admit that I'm at the very least off the train of betting this Carolina team every week. I don't think this is the week to do it.
So I think you've given me some homework because
go rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm going to go rewatch it.
It's not great.
Okay.
I think it's really about Michael Penix. It's a lot about Michael Penix when you watch that game. They had how many passing yards do you think, or you probably have it in front of you?
Yeah, I pulled it up.
Yeah. Look at Bryce Young's performance.
16-24, 122, no touchdowns, no picks.
5 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, you've given me some homework. I'm going to go back and rewatch this because, to be honest with you, what makes a game like this difficult is that this is also a New England Patriots team that I don't trust at all.
Sure.
And I thought Mike Vrabel was supposed to make this back to the Patriots of old, and we have not seen the discipline. We have not seen half of what I thought we were going to get out of the New England Patriots early.
Yep. And to that point, we'll talk about this as the week goes along. I don't think we should rule out New England as a survivor.
No.
It's not a great week. It's not the best week in terms of options for you. We can burn the Lions, if you will, but they're playing an opponent that just pulled it off against the Green Bay Packers. This is the week where you might have to get a little fresh with what you're deciding what to do with it.
So the Lions have the Browns for inquiring minds. You also tried to pitch the Texans, who are at home against the Titans. It's a 7-point spread, but the Texans are just so untrustworthy and have looked god-awful offensively that I don't know what to do with them at all. Then you have the Patriots, who are laying 5.5 at home again against the Carolina Panthers. Rams and Colts are not going to touch.
I mean, in theory, you could use the Broncos. The problem is, as we have discussed here, their quarterback has not played particularly well. And I think that 7's a little too much.
Saving the Packers, ideally, for a better position later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Green Bay Packers are a legitimate option for us this week in that obviously we didn't use them last week because we're still alive. And playing a Packers squad that is obviously, as we have seen, they're playing a Cowboys team. Did I say Packers squad? Yeah. They're playing a Cowboys team, which defensively is awful, terrible, abhorrent.
What do you think about the Broncos?
As I said, I think that 7's too much. I think they're an overrated team. I mean, we discussed this as part of the notes. They're a little overrated by the betting market and statistically have the worst quarterback in the NFL. Do you really want that? You want to sit there on a Monday night, the last game on a Monday, and watch Bo Nix throw a couple of picks and just be like, oh, my God, we're in a 3-point game here. And
I didn't realize. I forgot that's the Monday game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be terrible. Especially if you're celebrating, like, people that do get knocked out the day before. You're like, oh, yeah. Then, and then you have to sweat that out at the end of the day.
I do wonder how popular this is going to be, only because a lot of people did use Denver, obviously, week 1 against Tennessee Titans. So I don't think this will be, obviously,
I at least have one entry I'm going to use on the Bills against the Saints.
Sure.
But we have 2 more. Mm-hmm. The one that I have with you and my other one that we used the Bills last week.
Just got to throw it out there. So, Stormy, what game are you on this week?
Iowa State, Arizona.
Wow.
I'm very excited. Yeah, I thought you wanted to talk about the bet that you added. I know that the market is moving on it, but do you want to get that out real
sure.
quickly?
We can mention that. Yeah, for Best Bets, brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN.
Boom.
I did bet the money line when they were small dogs for the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night against the Arizona Cardinals, and I would still recommend laying like a short price. It's -1.5 right now. I think I even mentioned this with our guys, Jensen and Dave. Also talked about it, our friend Kendall Venezuela, who's with us regularly. I'm on there with on SiriusXM on Mondays on the Fantasy Channel, and this is the game that I had thrown out there as well, which is like throw your teasers in now, bet them now, because I think they're going to go off as small favorites here against Arizona, and that seems to be the case. I think -120 still a palatable number if you want to go in money line here, but I think Seattle, as we've kind of discussed, they're a really solid team. They played your team pretty tight in week 1, ended up not getting it. They really outperformed the Pittsburgh Steelers. We obviously know what happened last week against the New Orleans Saints, and as we've discussed, defensively, this is a team that's on par, I think, with their division foes in that of San Francisco and LA, specifically San Francisco now that Bosa is out. And offensively, they're good enough to run the ball that I think they're going to have some success here. And I think from a power rating standpoint, to say that they're 3 points better than Arizona is a much more fair number.
You are still getting a point at BetMGM. That is the only book I see that hasn't had the flip of favorites yet.
What's the juice on it? Because that's the interesting. Sometimes they'll put that
116.
Yeah.
But it's still still getting the point if you want to play it that way. 1.5 is the prevailing number with Seattle favored, but still some ones out there as well. So there's a handful of different options for you to get in on, even here on a Tuesday. G-Bank, by the way, built with sports bettors in mind. Right now you can earn $50 in cashback rewards once you're approved and your account is open with a G-Bank Visa signature card. While most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even with it's your own money, G-Bank treats them as regular purchases. That means no cash advance fees, saves you 3 to 5% on every deposit right there. Plus, you'll earn 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on everything else you buy. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank. And yes, so I will be out there in Ames, Iowa this weekend, Arizona, Iowa State. And we've already seen a pretty strong move toward the Arizona Wildcats in this spot early. This opened with Iowa State's 7-point favorites, and now I saw as low as 5 in the market. So in some spots, a 2-point swing on that spread. Both teams undefeated to this point, both teams coming off of a bye. I think it can be an interesting competitive one out there in Ames.
Fade at your own risk. The 3-1 ATS Iowa State Cyclones.
Ooh la la.
I mean, the market's been wrong on them this whole week.
But you don't, I don't know what to take really from either team to this point.
I mean, Arizona, I think, does deserve credit in. I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right.
But can you take anything from the Kansas State win? I don't know. And I mean, and Iowa State's played so many close games. So this will be a fun one for us to discuss throughout the course of the week. I actually have my meetings with Iowa State tomorrow morning, so I might have some good stuff for us on the show tomorrow.
Tell them not to talk your ear off this time.
Follow the money after this. Stay locked right here on VSiN.